Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic Show. This is episode 1023. In this show, we've got the pleasure of a returning guest and a friend of the show. We've got Lars Lofgren coming back. Lars has got a fantastic career in SEO and digital marketing. He's helped a number of very large companies and still is, like Automatic and Perplexity and a host of other large companies that you recognise. And he also started a company called Stone Press. So, Lars, to have you back, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the audience as well?
Yeah, always happy to be here. So I've done so much shit at this point. It's like, where do I start? No, I've done a lot of marketing, mostly on inbound. I'm very strong on the organic inbound side. That's where I like to play. Went super deep into SEO for a long time. Actually built a affiliate SEO company. Did that for like 5 years. That was Stone Press. And that was quite the ride. We caught the tail end of the affiliate gold rush, and then we also got to see all of it like collapse and the HCU come out, and we got absolutely murdered and all that stuff. So that was, if not fun, it was certainly entertaining and quite the story. And then since then, doing a lot of fractional, like VP of marketing, or SEO work for some larger companies and helping them build their marketing departments. So yeah, it's been fun.
That's fantastic. I've got my great co-host with me, Kurt. Would you like to introduce yourself, Kurt?
Yeah, Jonathan, my name is Kurt Von Ahnen. I own an agency called Mañana No Mas, and we work directly with the great team over at WP-Tonic.
How's the foot? It hasn't dropped off, has it?
The foot is killing me.
He's been a bit grumpy lately, but I think he's had a foot injury. It's not very nice.
Oh, man. I can deal with grumps. I appreciate some good grumps, so I think we're going to do all right.
Yeah. Should be a great show. We're going to be discussing Reddit. We're going to be discussing a host of other topics around the SEO, inbound marketing area. Should be a great show. Lars is a true expert, and he's just a cool guy to talk to. So I'll be looking forward to the show. But before we go into the meat and potatoes, we've got a couple of messages from our new major sponsors. We will be back in a few moments, folks.
WP-Tonic is sponsored by Jetpack. Managing WordPress sites shouldn't mean stitching together a pile of disconnected plugins. Jetpack brings security, performance, publishing, growth, and AI tools together in one WordPress native toolkit. Use what you need: backup, scan, boost, social, video press, stats, and more, all with modernized dashboards built into WP Admin. For your site or your client's sites, see what Jetpack can do. Jetpack.com. WP-Tonic is sponsored by Ninja Forms. And let's talk about one of their powerful tools, conditional logic. Conditional logic is the clearest example. Every rule for the whole form lives in one panel instead of being buried field by field. On client work, build speed and low maintenance are part of your margin. A form that is fast to configure and that a client can run afterward without coming back means less friction during the build and less support load after the handoff. Ninja Forms, powerful and genuinely easy to work with without being dumbed down. To learn more, go to ninjaforms.com.
We're coming back, folks. Want to point out we've got some cool special offers from some of the major sponsors of the show, plus a curated list of the best WordPress plugins, technology, and services for the freelancer, small agency owner. You can get all these free goodies by going over to wp-tonic.com/deals, wp-tonic.com/deals. So let's go straight into it. Let's talk about Reddit. I think it's still pretty hot for marketing, for organic traffic generation and strategy, but I also think it's also been overplayed a bit as well. But that's just my feeling about it. What's yours, Lars?
Why do you say it's overplayed?
Well, everybody seems to be still seems to be talking about it, and I think I've never really been able to get my head around it. I just not been able to really get into it.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I'm saying this, because I'm not really into Reddit. So
not a Reddit native.
I'm talking out my arse basically there, which is, if you've been listening to this podcast for 8 years, isn't that unusual? It's just an observation. Also, there's a lot of people on X, Twitter, on YouTube that says that you can use AI and automate everything on Reddit.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
And it's, I haven't got any time for it. I just haven't got any time for it, Lars.
Yeah, that's fair. So Reddit is a weird platform. It is. I think the reason I'm more open to Reddit is because I've been a Reddit user for a long, long time. I still use old Reddit, like old.reddit.com. I hate the new design. I think when they finally killed the old site that was around 15 years ago, and they still maintain a little bit. I think when they finally kill that, my Reddit addiction will probably finally get killed off. But so I've been in it a long time. I get the vibe. I remember when Reddit was like all memes. It was just those animal memes, those endless millennial memes. That was the whole homepage. Those were the days. So anyway, I think I've been in Reddit a long time. I think I get it. And I get the voice and I get the community. And I also get the platform and how things move. I would not call myself like a Reddit expert, but it's something that like I understand, right? And because of... I never wanted to get into Reddit for a marketing reason. Right, I always consider like Reddit shines. Like if I put if I'm not trying to be a consultant, if I'm not trying to like close clients, if I'm not trying to do like marketing shit for any company, if I just stand back like as an individual person, where Reddit really shines is in like niche hobbies. If you have a niche hobby, there is a subreddit for you. There will be like-minded people. The marketing will be fairly, kept at bay. The mods shenanigans will probably be like light, if anything. You can go find a community and everybody's just talking about that super niche interest all the time. That exists. Problem is when you start getting into like professional and product recommendations or bigger subreddits that have massive audiences, that's when all the manipulation and kind of the dark side of Reddit comes out. So I see a lot of, even as a user, I have a personal account and I don't follow any business shit at all. I just follow a bunch of different gaming subreddits and all these other niche things that I'm interested in. And I still get a lot of value out of it. But, so as a marketer, unfortunately, we've been forced into adopting Reddit, even though Reddit's like mainly for hobbies. That's where it shines. We've been forced to find that Venn diagram overlap between our business needs and Reddit, because Google, I still think Google is not doing nearly a good enough job here. But Google has decided, and all the LLMs, frankly, they all over rely on Reddit. There isn't nearly the degree of checking and due diligence on all the Reddit content that I think there should be. And Google will just rank all sorts of shit. One of my favorites subreddits, or one of my favorite terms to go check in Google just to kind of get a sense of how on top of the Reddit bullshit Google is being, is like standing desks. I've done content on this in the past. I think I still have a blog post or two about this on my blog. But best standing desks, you get a bunch of subreddits that are all ranking right at the top, and they're chock full of affiliate spammers. It's just relentless. It's nonstop. It's like you don't even need to know the affiliate game to see that it's just spam and nonsense and insanity, right? And the reason standing desk is such an attractive opportunity is because it has high volume, it's consumer, and there's a higher price ticket for a standing desk. You can go spend $3,000 on a standing desk right now. If you want like top line, but like even a standard solid standing desk is like $1,000, right? $700. Those are really interesting affiliate commissions. And it has the volume because it's consumer. A lot of consumer product spaces, they don't have the high ticket plus the volume, right? You usually get one or the other. So standing desk is rampant. And I just checked it, a couple weeks ago. And I've been talking about how shitty that collection of subreddits are for that SERP of standing desks and best standing desks. I've been talking about that for years. I just checked it a few weeks ago, and it's still just relentless spam, right? It's just endless. So there's a lot of manipulation going on, and it's all because Google is not really doing the due diligence. The LLMs are not doing the due diligence they need to, and stuff just goes straight to the top. I started a branded subreddit for one of my clients, mainly out of necessity. I'm like, I don't want to do a branded subreddit. I just want to check out hobbies on Reddit. Why am I doing marketing? Why am I talking about all this other stuff on Reddit? But because the rankings are so prominent, they're so easy. I'm like, you know what? Dude, we're struggling on our blog. We're getting our teeth kicked in for all sorts of reasons. Why don't we just go do Reddit? Right? Like, why the fuck not? We got nothing to lose. And we're already ranking for stuff. And we're like 2 months in. This is stupid. And that's the power of Reddit, right? So there's
you say that, but it must be me. But like, I put a question into Google, and the AI overview doesn't, and then Reddit, and I click Reddit, and it's some answers about 2 to 3 years ago, and they're totally out of date. It's totally out of date. And I thought to myself, I start reading, and I glanced up, and I see this stuff was posted 3 years ago. You know, stuff that's posted 2 months ago is out of date. The state things are going. So I thought to myself, why is Google putting this almost at the top of search? You know, it's stuff that's out of date. It's like free, but maybe it's my searches, maybe it's me.
I don't think it's just you. I see issues all the time on Reddit, especially when it comes to the product recommendations. That's where most of the manipulation on Reddit is happening. At least the manipulation I'm super familiar with, because there's just so much potential upside. If you get into the right subreddits and you get the right product mentioned, if you get your product mentioned in the right context with a few upvotes, and a lot of this stuff is so niche, you don't need many upvotes. You don't need thousands of upvotes. You need like 10. And then you're at the top of the thread, and then Google automatically trusts all that shit, puts it at the top of the SERP, and it costs you a fraction of the time and effort as it would getting your product pages up there or your blog at the top of Google. Like, you could skip all that work just by spending a bunch of time on Reddit, or even not even a bunch, just like a very reasonable amount of time. And Google's decided on a strategy of basically letting or entrusting all that due diligence onto Reddit itself. And Reddit is doing more. We can talk about that if you all are. Reddit has made a lot of moves in the last couple of months.
I think we'll discuss it later on during the show, because I want to throw it over to Kurt. So I don't know what your views on Reddit are, and then move on to the next question, Kurt.
Well, I just want to get the first thing out of the way, Lars. I have a standing desk.
Yeah, so do I. It's right here.
Well, I had one, but I never used it.
Yeah, that's right. I use it on calls.
Jonathan's like, standing's overrated. One of the things I really liked about how you started that answer, though, Lars, was like, you were like, this wasn't a marketing effort. This was like a thing I did. This was my entertainment. This was my doom scrolling habit, whatever. And I think back, because I'm old, I think about like the popularity of Facebook as it rose. I think about that first wave of Twitter as it rose. I think about the fall of both of those, like when Facebook fan pages fell out of favor, and then people tried to go to groups, and then they went back to Facebook pages, and then it's like we've all seen this ebb and flow.
Yeah.
But I think that popularity came from like, hey, this is just a cool place to hang out and talk about knitting, bicycling, botany, like whatever your interest was. It created those audiences. Those audiences created that flow, and then that flow attracted the marketers, and then the marketers, like lawyers, ruin everything. And
I have been a part of that, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
I think we're all, well, that's just it. We're all part of that, right? And then I think about Reddit. Now, I'm in the same boat as Jonathan. I have not figured out Reddit. I've tried a couple of times, and I just can't wrap my head around who looks, who doesn't look, how things get shared, how things get upvoted. I get lost in that. But what strikes me very bizarrely, and it kind of relates to the comment that Nikita made in our comment section, she was talking about the sudden growth of how Google's Google's upvoted Reddit, like that just shows it more and more. And I'm really struck by that, because Google is like propping up this social media channel in this way, but they couldn't they couldn't prop up their own social media channels. I mean, Buzz and Circle and all those things that Google Plus, like all those things came and went and never did earn the adoption that you and I discussed, like you with Reddit, me with Facebook and Twitter, and it never got that success. So it's weird that they would throw all of their coins, if it were, the SERP results into Reddit. It just seems like a very strange placement.
Yeah, the way that I've kind of rationalized that, or like the thread of logic there, like what I think happened on Google's side. Obviously, I don't know the senior leadership at Google, so I'm just guessing. But there was a period. This was like 2-3 years ago, maybe 3 to 4, something like that. There was a period where there was a ton of PR. And all in SEO circles, this was happening. In just like user and tech circles, this was happening. Where word got out that Google SERPs and the search results were basically trash, had been for a while, that Google wasn't really on top of it anymore, and that if you actually wanted to find a good recommendation or the answer to anything, you add Reddit to your Google search, right? And the reason people were doing that for twofold. One, Google was starting to suck. And then on the other side, the Reddit search function has always sucked. You just can't use it. Maybe it's a little better now, but for like 15 years, everybody on Reddit understood you cannot use the Reddit search function. So everybody was using Google to search for Reddit. And then a whole cohort of like tech and nerd millennials figured out, hey, the hack, if you actually want to skip the search and the Google manipulation, you just add Reddit to all your searches and you actually get good results. This was back when Reddit would come up in Google, but not necessarily all the time. It was more selective. And I think Google was trying to find the noise or the signal through the noise on Reddit, at least attempting to do so. And users were like, well, we can just kind of force this even harder because there's more gold in Reddit. And this was circulating within, it was on Twitter, it was on Reddit, like people, that was a common recommendation to that era. And I got in the habit of doing that all the time too, because I saw it, right? I was in it. I was like, yeah, there's gold on Reddit. The popular, the most people, the general public hasn't figured out Reddit. They don't understand it. It's kind of weird. And they don't know how to like manipulate Google to go focus on just this subset of the web, right? Well, that got traction. And then it started to there was a number of major PR or news articles and journalist pieces that came out around that time. And I think it spooked Google. And that's actually the main behavior point that I've seen from Google in like the last 5 years is Google's not really taking the lead. They seem to have like lost the initiative and lack vision on what a great SERP should be like, what the validation they need to be doing to find the really great content. They're not leading the charge anymore. Most of their product
they've been pretty active with AI overviews, aren't they?
Yeah, but even that's a fucking reflex to OpenAI, right? Like ChatGPT comes out, Google gets spooked,
yeah, I'll give you that.
And then they're just throwing in an AI answer at the top of every SERP, right? It's not. That's not. It's a fast follow move, and I get it. That's probably the right move.
Yeah, on reflection, I was only teasing you anyway, but
yeah,
you are right. It fits into exactly the pattern before I rudely interrupted that you were pointing out, isn't it? It supports your position.
Yeah, it's just reflex. And most of the changes in the Google SERP for the last few years have been a reflex to negative PR. And that Reddit kind of story got popular. And that was one of the first big like reflex moves. And I think that's probably like 80% of the explanation for why Reddit is everywhere in Google. Google was just freaking out. Like, oh no, everybody's using Reddit. We need to have Reddit.
It was just. Do you think they toned it? Oh, we need to go. Let's move on. I'm going to take over for point 2. Sorry, Kurt, but the reason I'm taking over, Kurt, is that I put this question. I used AI as well, to be honest, but I also saw some video interviews. The Edward show you went on a couple of times, and I'm pretty friendly now with David Quaid. He's become a kind of new friend.
David's great.
Yeah, he's amazing. He goes off on a. He's so bright, but he goes off on a big track tangent sometimes. But I'll put this second question that you've made. What made you shift SaaS clients' organic budget from SEO? And I don't think you really said that. I think you've said that you've moved away partially, but you also it's more of a mixture now. Would that be
Yeah.
more fair?
Yeah, so I think that's been the biggest shift in my like online marketing strategy at the highest level. For a long, long time with multiple jobs I had leading marketing departments, or for the company that I built, I went and fucking did this. I always believed in the power laws of online marketing, right? Like if you spread yourself across too many channels, like you could get gains and wins, but they would be a fraction to what you could get if you went all in on like one channel. Because all the returns, are very power law driven. If you are number one in Google, you basically get like 90% of the rewards, right, in the category that you're trying to dominate. And I knew that. I learned that through multiple companies, and we went and built our own affiliate company and proved it, and it worked out fantastically. But what has changed in the last couple of years is the power laws are still there, but especially with Google, with AI now, a lot of these platforms have moved from like a concentrated, where their signals are concentrated on their own individual platform, to them spending a lot of time looking at all the other platforms, right? So if you start a company today, and I do deeply believe this now, if you start a company today and 100% of your marketing efforts are just SEO, like 100%, you are in an extremely vulnerable position. And I've been through this multiple times with my own projects. Not to say it can't be done, but the margin of error is essentially like zero, right? If you make one mistake, you're fucked. Google especially wants tons of signals about your entity, about your trustworthiness, about your authority coming from all the other platforms. It's looking at LinkedIn, it's looking at Reddit, it's looking at Twitter, it's looking at everything else. And if you spread your marketing dollars and efforts to be cross-platform, if you're on YouTube, like you come back to Google and things are just easy, right? Like you actually have that margin of errors built back into the system. So that while the power laws are still there, you can't go at it directly anymore, in my opinion. You really need a multi-platform strategy from the get-go. And this is coming from someone that prefers to focus on one thing. If I love SEO, I think I'm really good at it. And if I could just do it 100% of the time, I would, especially for my clients. But I've literally had conversations this week with multiple clients. I'm like, look, I know we have more content budget. I know we have more organic marketing budget. That's great. We should still earmark a portion of that for SEO because we need the right landing pages. We need some blog posts to really build out and round out the whole cluster that really matters. But it's not this like endless editorial dump that we can do 100 posts a month. There was an era where that worked great. I don't do that anymore. I'm actively talking out companies of doing that, even though they have the size, the category is big enough, they have the budget. And I'm like, no. Let's do 20. 20 is a good clip for a really big category. But then after that, we need to take that budget and go put it into YouTube. We need to get some LinkedIn ghostwriters. We need to get our branded Reddit going. We need that multi-platform entity built up, not just for like, because there's leads, although there will be. But on top of that, it actually builds up the entity, and then we're not going to have to, like, we're not going to be looking over our shoulders every day, every time there's a Google update, wondering whether or not our entire business is going to collapse. Because that can happen. Even I can't tell you how many SaaS companies I've talked to, like the last 2 years. It's a real company. It's a real service. It's not just some scammy SEO play. Like there is something real there. But if they're too concentrated on SEO, they're extremely vulnerable. So and if they push things just a little too much, the whole thing collapses.
So hopefully, Kurt, you're not nodding off, are you, Kirk? You're okay?
I'm not logging off.
All right. I'm going to be totally selfish here. We've got about 5 minutes, right? But let's be totally selfish here, guys. So WP-Tonic, if I was coming and you were doing some work for WP-Tonic, what you've just, we are a hosting, but we're a bit more. We are
Yeah.
a hybrid. We are hosting an agency, but we specialise in membership, e-learning, associations, schools, individuals, anybody that wants to build community or e-learning, basically. And I came to you and said, what can we do to basically get more leads? What would be a broad outline of maybe some of the things you would say to me?
Yeah, the first thing, we don't have to do this on this call, but I'll just walk you through how the conversation typically goes. But I'd first ask about your budget, be like, okay, how much do we have to work with? We'd get confirmation on that. And that'll give me a most mid-size or even, how many employees do you have right now? That'll give me
It's just me and
okay, there you go. Okay.
and a
I know everything I
few,
need.
and
Okay.
I have a few like Kirk. I have a few trusted.
Yeah, a couple contractors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to be careful. We can't waste money, and we can't go big. So we got to be really lean. And for a smaller business, there are a few moves that I think are pretty reliable for a SaaS company that still work consistently and have margin of error built in. In other words, you don't have to be a true expert. You don't have to play at the absolute top of that field. You can just be good and things will still work out. There's two things I'd probably recommend straight off the bat. Like if you are not doing a ton of LinkedIn content yourself right now, go hire a ghostwriter. There's a ton of ghostwriters.
Well, that's a funny platform, isn't it?
It is, but holy shit, does it work?
And Kirk
yeah.
knows he's got a bigger. He's got a bigger. But I've seen people. I really, even finding posts is a. I haven't got the knack of finding the posts that I want to find in LinkedIn.
Their algo is a pain, but whatever.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. It's fine. These are all good. Yeah, LinkedIn is its own weird beast. For whatever reason, I click with LinkedIn and it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But there's tons of ghostwriters. They're all trying to do basically all the writers that got fired off all the blogs through the last couple of years, and all the blogs are just like collapsing. Well, a lot of them have moved into LinkedIn, and a lot of them are very good, and their rates are very reasonable. And the amount of ghostwriting happening on LinkedIn is massive. I don't do ghostwriting. All my content's 100% real. So if someone's got voice and can write consistently, I'd be like, go instead of spending your time on essentially a blog like people used to do, just go treat LinkedIn like a blog.
Do you think, because I think they've got a limit up to 15 minutes, I backed off, but I'm gonna be producing a lot more video and I'm gonna be posting it on LinkedIn. Do you think if you do like 8-10 minute videos consistently and it's interesting subject, you can build audience using video on LinkedIn?
I don't know. I can't give you a straight answer because I haven't done a ton of video on LinkedIn. All of my content is most of my content, I don't even do images. It's literally just a short blog post. And I know some people do. I've heard weird things about the LinkedIn videos. Like if you do videos consistently, they might have turned this down a little bit, but you can get a crazy number of impressions on the videos. But it's mainly because LinkedIn is forcing those fucking short form vids in front of everybody's feed. Like you see them constantly, right? And I'm pretty sure LinkedIn is being fast and loose with how they track impressions, where like if you're just scrolling by it, it counts. So everybody starts posting videos and they're like, wow, look at all these impressions. And everyone, like, they're not real impressions. People are just fucking doom scrolling right past it.
Well, I've interrupted a couple of times. Anything else before we go for our break?
Yeah, LinkedIn is good. I would do that. You can do it at a reasonable rate. The other thing, especially because you're in a big part of your product is the community side. At least that's what I heard. Look, Reddit is weird. Reddit is funky. But at the end of the day, it's just a community. It's just a forum. It's just a community. Yeah. So most companies, especially in hosting, I've spent a ton of time in the hosting and website SERPs. It's a category of Google I know very well. Look, you're not going to go head to head with HostGator or Bluehost or DreamHost and any of these SEO programs. Like it's just not like I beat them.
Kirk's had to put up with my shenanigans and my ever changing he just looks at me now with pity, don't you, Kurt? But I've tried to, I mean, like, it's kind of hosting, but I've kind of tried to position it so it's a little bit away.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
Yeah.
And if you have the
It might
community,
have been smart, but I haven't done it very well.
well, we always try. Right? So a lot of times it doesn't work. That's fine. But if community is an expertise of yours, I think you would have a lot more traction on Reddit than you'd expect. Right. The hardest part of Reddit,
David Quaid, he's encouraged me enormously.
He runs his own SEO subreddits.
Oh, we mustn't say that. We mustn't say that, must we?
Well, he's a mod. Anyway,
he doesn't
point
like
is,
that.
and there's a lot of SEOs that are running their different subreddits, and they're it's absolutely true. I think most companies, maybe not all, but a lot. I think you'd be surprised about how many can and should start their own branded subreddit. It's transparent. It's straightforward.
Maybe I should do that. Actually.
I think you really should. And the hardest part is seeding the community. That's that 0 to 1 phase. If you can get a little momentum in that community going and then continue to nurture it over time. Like I just started this with a client. I'm not going to reveal numbers because they're still kind of embarrassing, but I am shocked on the results that we're getting for the time and energy that we put into it. We already have an actual community and we're like 2 months in. I'm like, the fuck is happening right now? Stuff is spreading. People keep subscribing.
My only fear about it is that Google's they're such arseholes, aren't they? They could pump. I know they're giving Reddit they're paying Reddit a ton of money, aren't they? I think they are. Is it Google or they're getting money from?
Yeah, Google.
People? Yeah, but it's still peanuts, isn't it, for Google? And Google could change its mind instantaneously, couldn't they?
But that's the nice thing about Reddit. It's both the opportunity and then you're also protected on the downside. So one of the reasons, we mentioned this a little bit, but the reason all these marketers are just flooding into Reddit is because Reddit, for the first time in my career, one platform actually gives you 3 platforms, right? If you're in Reddit, you get the Reddit audience, but then you get the Google SERPs, and then you get the LLM mentions, right? It's fucking 3-for. Like no other platform gives you that. So, but that also means the flip side, if you think about, okay, what happens if Google goes away? Well, you still have LLMs and you still have the Reddit. So if you're doing this, you can do the manipulation Reddit route. I think we're going to run out of time. Happy to talk about what that looks like. But you don't have to. If you go in and you're like, okay, we're transparent. We're building up a branded subreddit. We're really clear who we are. We're not manipulating anything. Everything's out in the open. We're building a real community here, doing it the slow, hard, legit way. Then even if Google turns off the Reddit spigot, even if the LLMs actually get their shit together and start actually figuring out who's manipulating them and who's not, you will still be left with a real, genuine community on a section of Reddit that you control, and you don't have to worry about a grumpy mod kicking you out. That alone is still extremely popular. All you're doing is building a forum around your brand, and you're just doing it on Reddit. And that, in my opinion, still has value, regardless of what happens. And you can get that going for a very reasonable amount of money, especially if you're doing a lot of it yourself. If you want to get serious, then yeah, you're looking at $20K a month. But look, you get the right contractors on board, you can get away with $1,000 here, a couple thousand, especially if you're doing a lot of work. Or if you really want to do 100% of the work yourself and not spend $1 on it, like that you can do that. Reddit is you can cut costs everywhere and just dump in time, and you can get something off the ground. It'll take a little bit longer, but essentially you're just building community, and that has value no matter what these platforms do later.
Right, and I think it's time for us to go for our middle break. I'm just going to throw it over to Kirk the second half, and he can rat it through these questions, right? But the title was Reddit, so I think spending the first half on Reddit was about right. But we're going for our middle break, folks, and we'll be back in a few moments, folks.
Updating plugins and themes shouldn't feel risky. That's why over 300,000 WordPress users trust WP Rollback. With just a click, you can safely roll back any plugin or theme. No manual file uploads and no downtime. And with WP Rollback Pro, you can download premium plugins and themes. Tools like Elementor, Gravity Forms, and more. Track every rollback you do with detailed activity logs. Protect your workflow and take the stress out of updates. Learn more at WPRollback.com.
Want to point out, I do a newsletter. Why don't you sign up for it? Basically, it's normally, but the topic is a kind of expansion of one of the podcast topics that I do it every week. And then I find other resources that's come on my radar to support the topic. But I formulate it all myself. You can find it by going over to wp-tonic.com/newsletter. wp-tonic.com/newsletter. Over to you, Kurt.
Well, I just listening to things go back and forth, and running a smaller agency myself, I've always been of this mindset. Like, to your point, Lars, I look at it like social media is this giant net, and the net's job is to gather as many fish as possible and direct them to the website, which is, the boat. I want to get everything in the boat. Whatever analogy works for you. I've always kind of looked at it that way, but then other folks will tell me, well, SEO is the key, or this is the key, or that's the key. And it's like, it always seems that somebody has like an easy button key, but it seems like there's no replacement for the hard work, which is
it's hard work no matter what.
Spreading yourself out on as many channels as possible and bringing that in. Now, you mentioned LinkedIn, which is like, my little secret garden. And I think about the things I do there. So like you had mentioned the shorts and how they promote the shorts. But when LinkedIn approves you to go live on LinkedIn, they actually send you an email and a tutorial that says we promote videos that are more than 15 minutes. Like they're looking for long form content, right? So it's like, so they're doing it both ways. They're trying to be the Joe Rogan and the shorts, right? All at the same time. But then I found newsletters, and all of a sudden newsletters in LinkedIn, like to your point, use it like a blog. Tons of people subscribe and read those things. Like I had no idea it'd be so popular. I sense the way that you talked about Reddit, that there's these hidden gems, these like little folders in the drawer that you pull out and you go, oh, have you tried this yet? Like, and it's like unlocks some magic to the Reddit. Is that like these branded subreddits and things you're talking about? Is that like the newsletter feature, or how would you liken Reddit to use in other platforms?
Yeah. I think you bring up good points on LinkedIn, and I don't really get into like the LinkedIn, all those other content formats. I just play around with the posts, keep it simple. But on Reddit, I wouldn't really call Reddit like secret drawers. Like for most people, if they're just doing, and they should do like the white hat, above board, transparent, everything out in the open. Like all you're doing is starting your own subreddit, and in order to be transparent, you're just going to brand it under your company, right? Then that way there's no issues later on. There are plenty of other flavors of this. You could create a new subreddit and try, make it about your category, and then keep it a little hush-hush about who you actually are. There's a lot of that happening. You can get in the black hat world and start trying to manipulate everybody else's posts, seed your own posts with an alt account, come in, answer, like, oh, hey, what should we use in this product or service? And like, oh, you should use this. And you're like, and you happen to be running all the accounts, but then you got to be sneaky about it. You got to do the VPNs. You got to make it really authentic, so you're not getting auto banned by Reddit. You got to make sure you're finding subreddits that are a little lax by different mods. Some mods are like hyper lockdown a lot, or asleep at the wheel. A lot of mods are doing their own manipulation and they're in on it. So like maybe you cut a deal with some of the mods. Like there's all these weird fucked up games being played in the background. That's actually most of Reddit. It's like Reddit is rampant with black hat right now. If you're doing things in the open, I think because one of the cultural aspects of Reddit is it's very, very anti-marketing. Right. And more so than any other channel. Like if you just start popping up in different subreddits and do kind of the marketing thing, you're going to get banned so fucking fast, even if you are like transparent about it. Like if you promote any content that even whiffs of marketing, boom, you're out. Right. So you got to be really, really careful with how you mention your own product and when you actually drop that little marketing lead to get people to go wherever it is you're hoping to go. You basically have to do like, most platforms, most organic channels, good ratios are like 80 to 90% helpful content, 10 to 20% actually promotional marketing. With most of Reddit, it's like 99% helpful non-promotional content, like 1% promotional marketing. And you can still run afoul of mods really easily. Yeah. So if you start your own branded subreddit, you actually have a little bit more control, right? And that's like the most reliable method to allow you to do what you need to do, build things up in a way, get a community going, but then you're not going to have to worry about running afoul of the mods because you are a mod, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that kind of takes us to the other side of the equation, and that's, I'm thinking about like Yelp now, so I'm totally jumping channels, but you can have a great Yelp thing, positive reviews, everything's great. Tick off one customer, and all of a sudden they convince 15 friends to jump in and say that you suck. So then your Yelp score goes to the toilet. Well, the same thing would happen in Reddit then, right? Yes. Someone gets a whiff that I'm a marketing genius, and then they go, well, let's ban this guy. And then you get banned from 15 channels or whatever. And then how do you overcome like a coordinated attack against your brand or yourself in these spaces?
Yes. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart because I've done a lot of content around this. And I've talked to a number of companies that were actively being attacked, even publicly traded companies that were being attacked by competitors on Reddit because Reddit is so anonymous, and because fundamentally Reddit is not, there isn't a single algo that you're playing to. It's not like Google, it's not like Facebook. Reddit is a series of fiefdoms, and who's the king of every fiefdom? The head mod, right? So if that mod or one of the secondary mods wants to start going after you, there's really nothing to stop them, especially if they're trying to put any effort into covering your tracks. They can completely distort their narrative about you within whatever communities they can control. Because mods, they get full power. They can remove posts at will. They can delete comments at will. They can ban users at will. And they can also pop any comment they make. They can just pin it to the top. Right? Yeah. So they can skew narratives. They have so much power on skewing narratives. And remember, Reddit feeds to the top of every Google result very easily. Reddit is considered a trustworthy source out of the gate for every AI tool out there. AIOs, ChatGPT, Perplexity, all of them, right? So if you have someone in these more popular communities in your category that's tilting the scales either in their own favor or also against you, there's the positive ways to do it, and they can enrich themselves, but then they can also attack all their competitors. You do not have any recourse. You're fucked, right? And I've worked with companies, not worked with, but I don't have any relationship with them. But I've broken the story on how this has happened in different markets. And I have not actual paid consulting, but I've done one-off calls with people like, look, this is how it's working. Here's your moves to kind of combat this. It is happening across more categories than you'd expect. And if you want to play defense, if you want to inoculate yourself towards this nonsense and give yourself a fighting chance, again, I would lean back on that branded subreddit. If you can build up a real momentum and a real community, you can, you now have a voice in all the SERPs, right? Like Reddit is its own separate SEO leaderboard. So what's a good way to reduce someone else's influence on the leaderboard? You start taking slots up in that leaderboard that you can control. It reduces the voice of someone else, especially a nefarious actor, and it enhances your own narrative. So it gives you a fighting chance, right?
Jonathan, back to you. I'll be right back.
All right, rightio. So let's talk about old school link building. Well, this combined the two questions I got on link building. Do you think link building is working again? I don't think it ever went away. I'm influenced by David here. He said it's still is one of the strongest signals Google gets is, the link quality to your site, basically, and other factors, right? And what can somebody, I got, like what you said at the beginning of this interview, that relying on SEO is really dangerous now, even if you're getting good results. But if your organic visibility is declining, what can you do? So maybe give us your quick view on link building tactics. Do you think it's still really important? And then maybe give a larger response to what somebody should do if their organic visibility is declining.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent question and something I go back and forth on. The short answer is link building is still important, but it's not the cheat code it used to be. Which this is one thing Google has improved. I'll give them credit here. So the affiliate company that I had, and we were ranking number one on some extremely competitive, very lucrative. We weren't just ranking number one. We had like 3 websites on the first page of the SERPs. We were starting to roll up entire categories and lock them all down in extremely competitive categories. So we were kind of at the top of the charts, right? And how we got there is link building. We had a good foundational site, and then we went all in on link building. And this was like 2019 to end of 2022. And of course, anything before that, link building also had this impact. So link building was such a massive lever that if you took a foundational site and just did just shitload of really high quality link building and then didn't get caught, you could get to the top of whatever you wanted. Right, that's what I mean by cheat code. And this isn't theory. I fucking did it. We did it, right? On multiple sites in an extremely competitive category. And what shifted with the HCU and kind of the whole big algo shift that happened, started at the end of 2022 and then really started rolling out in 2023, is the impact that links has been dialed back. I don't think it's not zero. So like we'll still do some link building. But it's not a cheat code, right? You used to be able to get to wherever you want in Google by just link building. Now you really have to round everything else out. And I can tell you with certainty that if a site is getting hit hard, one of our sites, our biggest, most successful site, was getting absolutely demolished by the HCU during that period, especially in 2023. I spent all of 2023, good chunk of it, going so hard on link building, right? Because link building had been a cheat code for the longest time. I was like, oh, hey, our rankings are down a little bit. I think let's go to the tried and true lever. Let's go do some hardcore link building. And I got crazy links during that year. Links that would probably outperform a lot of link building agencies, and that it did not slow the decline of that site at all. That site basically went to zero. Okay. So if you're being hit a little bit, then, hey, maybe some, background link building, or kind of, I almost consider like the approach I like to have with link building now is kind of more like maintenance, right? Like if we're really building up a property, I am going to allocate a portion of my budget to just like consistent quality link building in the background, but I'm not going to go all in on it, right? I'm going to go do YouTube. I'm going to go do LinkedIn. I'm going to do a bunch of this other stuff. I'm going to do Reddit. And I'm not going to worry about like dialing the link building effort way up until like everything's humming. We are one of the key players in that category, and we're doing the final push to number one. That's when I'd really dial it up. But even then, I'd probably have to fucking be careful about it. So anyway, important, but not the end all be all cheat code that it was for a very, very long time.
So what about what's the first thing a brand should fix when organic visibility declines?
Yeah, it's a really good question. The main thing, I hate to give this answer, but it does kind of depend. Like the first thing I always do is look up the search traffic Ahrefs chart. Like how bad is the decline? How severe is it? If I get HCU vibes from that thing, like if the decline is you're just getting crushed, right? You're just fucking falling off a cliff. My answer is usually like, do a very, very deep purge of the site. Try to go remove like 70, 80, 90% of the content. Get as close to 90% as you possibly can. And then go take the majority of your marketing dollars, put like at least 75% of your marketing budget into other channels, assuming this is a business that you're going to keep working on, right? Start rounding things out. Do not expect a turnaround on SEO anytime soon. Like, in fact, expect it never to happen and then be pleasantly surprised if it does happen. If we're talking about like the really serious hits. If it's more of like, hey, we've gotten, we're definitely taking a few steps back, but, we're not demolished. We're not getting completely murdered and just dropping out of the index entirely. Then it's like, okay, start working through cleaning everything up. But like, you can invest a little bit more into SEO. You don't have to consider it like dead. But you still want to diversify sooner rather than later to start rounding things out. That will give you the signals to help support everything again. Move number one, generally.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, go for it.
Why do you think purging works? What signal do you think that's giving Google?
So there's a few things that I do deeply believe in the current environment that really matter. It's almost, for the longest time, Google, like the quality of links really mattered, right? Like if you got too aggressive or too sloppy with your link building, then you could burn down a domain. Like that was most of my career. That was the main risk factor in Google. Now it's flip-flopped. It's no longer, I actually worry way less about link quality now. Well, you still should. It's the overall content quality and how spread thin the site is. If you start reaching into topical areas where Google doesn't think you belong in at all, and that content is thin, and Google starts to decide, oh, hey, regardless of how this content was written, it might be AI, it might be a bunch of freelancers, it might be whatever. If that content quality overall is low, you start to get that domain, low quality, untrustworthy classifier. And it takes forever to weaken that and remove that. And one of the easiest ways to start to, loosen things up again is by going through and finding every shit piece of content on the site, which generally there's a lot, if we're all being honest with ourselves, right? Like, and just 404ing as much of it as you possibly can and redirecting everything else that has, quality links going to it. And then rebuilding the kernel that is worth keeping. Like Google, there are exceptions at like the highest tiers of domains, but the vast majority of us should really stick in our neighborhood. Like if you are in a particular category, you do not want to wander outside of that category at all with your content. Because if you get spread too thin, then Google's like, oh, hey, these folks are just doing SEO. And if it looks like they're doing SEO, then you get burned. Even though we're all fucking doing SEO. And it's like, you know what I mean? But you can't look like you're doing SEO, right?
All right, Kirk, do you want to do the last question?
Yeah, this is kind of our branded question, I guess, right? So if you could go back to the beginning of your career journey, Lars, if you had your own TARDIS, a time machine, go back in time, what advice would you give yourself as you were getting started?
I think it's a tough one.
He's like, go into construction, learn a trade.
No, absolutely not. I like the remote lifestyle. That's great. I think a few things I would tell my 20-year-old self to probably work a little less. It's like, I don't know, get going with some hobbies earlier. Don't spend your 20s 100% on work, but that's like a personal thing. I'll give you like an actual marketing thing. So a few of the toughest lessons I've learned that I really wish someone would have brought it up earlier, and no one really did. I think the biggest one for me that I'm always very paranoid about is, especially for a marketer, you come into a company and what happens? The team is like, more leads. We need more pipeline, more leads in pipeline. And sometimes, actually a minority of the times, is the company is truly ready for that, right? They truly have product market fit. The sales team is clicking. The product team is humming. Like you're at that sweet spot, and now you just need to throw gas in the fire, and the whole thing goes, right? That's the classic marketer job. The problem is there is a minority of companies ready for that. More often what is happening is that product market fit is sort of there, but not really. The offer is kind of there, but not really. There is foundational things that have not been figured out. And only the CEO, the founders, and the product team can figure that shit out. But that friction that's being felt in the company, or the plateau that's kind of starting to be felt, the instinctual reaction is for leadership to go to marketing and say, hey, we need more leads. If we get more leads, we'll get more revenue, and then we'll be okay. But the problem is, if things are feeling sluggish, that's a huge signal that word of mouth is not truly happening. And if word of mouth is not happening, that's any successful company, the vast majority of customers and leads, it's all word of mouth, right? Like that is the channel to beat all channels. And if you don't have that, there's always exceptions, but if you don't have that, the odds of you not having a dialed in offer and product market fit are quite high. And it doesn't matter how hard you push on lead gen. It doesn't matter how much money you throw into marketing. All you're going to do is delay the plateau. And that is, if I was to synthesize like the first stint of my career in the first company where I held a leadership role, that is exactly what happened. I got pushed so hard to drive leads, crazy goals that today I'd be like, if someone gave me that goal, I'd be like, fuck you, man, fuck off. We're not doing that. And not only, well, I was young enough not to push back, but then I still pulled off those goals. I still fucking hit them, which is fucking insane. I don't know how I did that. Probably to my first point, I should have been working less. But even then, these companies will get in the habit of like, okay, we hit our crazy lead goals, but stuff still feels creaky. Let's get even more leads. We're like, no. You need to back way the fuck out. You need to stop worrying about marketing. You need to go to your product and really have an honest conversation of like, what do we need? Where's the market going? And where do we need to close those gaps? And marketing almost needs to be put on like fucking maintenance mode. And the common dynamic, especially in like venture funded SaaS, is even if you've had product market fit, maybe you start to lose it. All the onus gets put on lead gen and also sales. And then sales and marketing start going at each other's throats, right? It's super common dynamic. But the real problem is you don't have an offer that's truly clicking with the market, or like sort of clicks, right?
Yeah.
Go solve that fucking problem. Nothing else matters. If you don't have the offer, if you don't have product market fit, stop spending money on fucking marketing. That's the biggest piece of advice. And if I was at that company with what I know now, I would walk into the boardroom, which I was part of the board leading the marketing department at one point towards the end of that stint. I would walk into that and basically be like, why the fuck are we talking about marketing here? We don't have product market fit. Let's take our heads out of our ass, cut burn, and go recapture product market fit. That is the only thing that fucking matters right now. And you can have a pretty large fucking company and either not have product market fit or lose it. Product market fit is not just an early stage startup problem. It is a problem that is always in the background and can rear its head later. And you always need to be keeping an eye on it. So a lot of times it's not a marketing solution, right? And I have to go tell people that, like, fix the product, then come talk to me. Right? Or go build a marketing team, go do whatever you need to.
Yeah, that's super insightful. I do a lot of business consulting in the marine and power sports fields. Mm-hmm. And to your point, they're all about sales and getting leads and getting people in the showroom. But in reality, if you do a survey of customers, you'll find out they don't respond to the leads and they don't have the right products to meet the requirements of what they sold in the lead.
Exactly. So why the fuck are you spending money on marketing and sales? Right?
Yeah. Jonathan?
Oh, we're going to finish the podcast part of the show. You got extra 10 minutes, or do you got to be off, Lars?
I have an extra 10.
Yeah, we'll do some bonus content. I've got a couple of quick questions, but we're going to wrap up the podcast part of the show. You can watch the podcast and the bonus on the WP-Tonic YouTube channel. Go over there and give us a like over there. So, Lars, what's the best way for people to find out more about you and what you're up to?
Yeah, a couple places. One, I am pretty, I like to eat my own dog food. I am very active on LinkedIn. So if you heard this podcast, if you think I'm even somewhat entertaining and you want to follow me on LinkedIn, go just hit a connection request. Say, hey, I listened to the podcast. Would love to connect, and I'll automatically accept it. That's where I'm doing most of my content. I do have a newsletter that I post to almost never, maybe once a year. But it's on larslofgren.com. That's my blog. That's where my like high tier, really crazy content goes when I do post, which again is rarely. And if you do sign up for the newsletter, which is right on my homepage, larslofgren.com, then you will definitely get any of the big stuff that I do. So those are the two places. I'm also on Twitter somewhat. I'm on Blue Sky if you want to follow me there.
So, Kurt, what's the best place to find out more about you?
Right back to the beginning of the interview. LinkedIn. I'm the only Kurt Von Ahnen there. I'm easy to find.
That's fantastic. If you want to support the show, folks, give us a review. If you're listening on your mobile, on Spotify or Apple, it's really easy to leave a review, and it really does help the podcast. We will be back next week with another great interview. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
This podcast episode is brought to you by Lifter LMS, the leading learning management system solution for WordPress. If you or your client are creating any kind of online course, training-based membership website, or any type of e-learning project, Lifter LMS is the most secure, stable, well-supported solution on the market. Go to lifterlms.com and save 20% at checkout with coupon code podcast20. That's podcast20. Enjoy the rest of your show.
It's content. So I'm going to ask you about podcasting in general, because podcasting seems to be growing again. And, you know, you could say almost everybody's got a podcast, but most of them don't last very long.
Yeah.
And on the corporate side, they tend to be a bit dry, don't they? And company podcasts,
Yeah.
you know, SaaS companies, they try, and hosting companies try and do podcasting, and they tend to be dreadful, in my opinion. But I think podcasting is still growing. Only the top, let's say 5-10% make any money out of it, but that's the case.
Pretty standard.
That's pretty standard about everything. But
Yeah.
what do you know, you've agreed to come on my podcast a couple of times, and I've really enjoyed the
Always happy to.
discussion. You're a great guy, and I've been lucky. A lot of people do agree to come on the show. We're not a mega one. I get about, every 90 days, I probably get about 12 to 14,000 direct downloads.
It's not bad.
Not bad, is
Especially
it?
in a niche like WordPress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to break out a little bit, you know, always be kind of WordPressy, but I try and discuss marketers, SEO, anything to do around agency. I'll probably try and pitch it more to the agency mode, really. I think I've been doing that anyway over the last few years without me being totally aware of that, because you can't just keep talking about WordPress, can you? Or I can't.
Yeah. It's a little
But
stagnant.
where do you see podcasting going? Do you think more people can make money from it, or it seems very influential, but in some ways it's like the Cinderella of other platforms, isn't it? Still.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone super deep into podcasts. I've never built my own. I attend them. I can talk about why I do them as a guest and why I think they're really good for like personal brands and building that stuff up. But as far as like running your own podcast, well, I would trust your opinions way more than I would trust mine, because I just don't have the reps. I don't think they're going away. Podcasts are really popular. I mean, the main thing that I've heard from other heavy duty podcasters that I do follow, and I kind of see it myself. You kind of, podcasting has almost been merged into YouTube. They seem to like be kind of converging.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not really like, you used to be able to consider YouTube and podcasts separate, but now, and this is just the vibe, is kind of like being an outsider. It almost feels like if someone says, hey, we're going to do a podcast, that's almost the default follow-up or that's implied is they're actually building a YouTube channel. They're just doing a podcast-esque YouTube
There are
channel.
some slight differences, but
Yeah.
you know, like the Edward show, you know, you've been on his show a few times, haven't you? And
Yep.
how he does the show every day, God knows.
It's impressive. Yeah.
Not
And he's
just-
willed it into existence, right? It's a perfect case study for something. If you just keep hammering it and do not stop, as long as the platform is fundamentally healthy, that's the little asterisk, which I would say Google is not that anymore. But for every other platform, including podcasts, social, like if you just keep fucking showing up and keep refining your content craft and actually say something somewhat interesting, you will break through eventually. And I think that's still true with most platforms.
Well, how do you see SEO going? Because you know, Edwards has proven it. He said, you know, you look at Google Trends, SEO interest in SEO has grown. If you look at Google Trends, that's what Edwards said recently, and I didn't check it, but I presume that he's correct. I don't see him lying on something so fundamental. Are you surprised that SEO there's so much interest in it? And where do you see it going in the next year?
Yeah, so I think we got the interest has changed. There is a lot of interest, but I think a lot of that is all the AEO, GEO, LLM stuff, right? Which is new, it's interesting. People, a lot of marketers, a lot of execs, they're like, hey, how do we show up in all the LLMs? And so I think that's what's driving the bulk of the interest. One facet of interest that I've seen just fall off a cliff in SEO, like there's just crickets. It's like almost doesn't fucking exist anymore, is the hobbyist bloggers or like the niche affiliate bloggers. Even if someone's trying to do it the right way, this is why I said like the asterisk, the content has to fundamentally be working. Like if someone's just like, hey, I'm going to start a blog and I'm going to use SEO to get my traffic and build my initial company. Like it's not that like the bar for difficulty has gone up, but that's true too. But it's like blogs of like the old school blogs of just like offer helpful content, build a following. That is just sort of, it's kind of broken. And I think there's multiple reasons for that. People
I
don't
think
really
it's
follow blogs
mutated.
anymore.
I think Edwards use TikTok, use Instagram.
Yeah, so that's
use
the point.
LinkedIn.
Yeah,
You
yes.
know,
Yeah, you use all the other platforms. You take that regular content, I'm being helpful, I'm building an audience. You have to go into all the other platforms now. Google or SEO doesn't really work like that. Like I'm still getting paid a lot of money for SEO work and doing content SEO work, but it's all for mid-size and enterprise businesses. And what is the entire objective? Go manipulate SERPs and LLMs, right? And there's a lot of overlap between the two. If you're getting the SERPs, it increases the odds and visibility in all the LLMs. So there's a lot of overlap. A lot of the foundations, just old school SEO. There's new stuff too. So that's where a lot of the interest is coming from, is companies basically being like, hey, how do we make sure the LLMs are skewed in our favor? How do we build a marketing muscle to do that and maintain that over time? And anybody who's really good at organic marketing and inbound channels and been doing SEO for a while, that's going to be right up their alley. But it's in the past, SEO was great for those hobbyists, those content folks. It was great for small businesses that just like, hey, do a blog post every week, do a little bit of keyword research, but don't overthink it. Just you use keywords to kind of generate some topic ideas, consistently drip out really helpful content on your blog. I know so many SaaS companies that got built that way, right? And if a founder just carves out like half a day a week and blogs every week consistently for a few years, you'd be shocked. I taught so many people how to do this, how to build info product companies and creator businesses through blogs. All of that small business, like consistent blogging, that path to getting like a full-time income and to get your business off the ground, that window is really narrow. That is so much harder than it used to be. So now
I
it's
think
more
what
of
you're
a
saying
bigger
is
game.
a lot of that blogging. I think you're saying, or I would expect you to say, is I think you still need to put articles on your website, but also put them on LinkedIn or put them or Reddit. Start your own Reddit.
Depends on the article, right? Yeah. So LinkedIn, Reddit, all that stuff, 100% yes. But I've gotten way more disciplined on the topics that I cover on blogs for clients. So I usually, when I'm working with a client, usually they have a pretty established brand or a significant war chest, one of the two. And we go find the exact cluster that they need to go win because of the business, the product category they're in. And yeah, we will publish a bunch of content, but it's all to go dial in that cluster. Right? It's very focused. The architecture's dialed in. We spend a lot of time finding all the topics and really figuring out all the nodes and saying, okay, here's the 50, 100, 200 blog posts we need or whatever. It's very top down. It's very architectural. It's because we need to go dominate that very specific thing in Google and influence LLM in the way we want. It's less about audience. It's less about ongoing engagement. It's less about like, yeah, we need the content should be useful, but it's not. It's an LLM first content. Like LLMs are the gatekeepers. We need to make the LLMs happy and actually get in the conversation, and then we make users happy after that. So it's a very different approach to content. Whereas if someone is a founder, a small business, has a little extra time but very little money, like every other platform, I think is more viable right now. Go LinkedIn, go Reddit, go Twitter, go Instagram, go TikTok. And that consistency combined with quality content over time, you will build up an audience. And all those classic long-term paths to getting your business off the ground, they still work. But that, oh, I'm going to go do that content work on just my blog, and I'm just going to post whatever's interesting or questions I'm getting from my audience or my customer base, that does not work nearly as reliably as it used to. And I mean, the big kind of elephant in the room, right, is like, especially AIOs and all the LLMs, all the informational content within Google, the traffic keeps heading towards zero, right? At a certain point, the only value a blog post will have is influence on an LLM response, right? Yeah. There will be a trickle of traffic, but like I've seen posts. I mean, this is the benefit of being in like the same Google categories for like years and years and years. I can see how traffic changes even on the same keywords, and stuff is down 90% in just a few years. It's fucking nuts. And I'm like, okay, I don't think it'll ever truly hit zero, but I cannot rely on traffic anymore. If we are writing this post for traffic, that equation is breaking. Right, it's already kind of broken and it's going to keep breaking, or we should assume it will. So like the real filter I ask myself on any editorial like content calendar that's SEO focused is like, okay, does this content still matter if it never gets a visitor? Right. So one, it helps support other content that is really important for user acquisition, like bottom of funnel stuff or product landing pages that need to rank, and they'll still generate some traffic. Or this is in a category where even if we never get traffic, we really, really want to be in the conversation of that LLM. We want to skew it in our favor. Even not necessarily bottom of funnel stuff, but even a lot of mid funnel stuff. It's like we want to teach people how to think about this category because we have strong opinions. And if they're thinking about it this way, well, they're also going to probably end up as a customer at some point. But we also think it's the best way to think about it, right? And some content can still do that. Informational blog posts can still provide that for the company. Or another reason, especially for bigger companies, it's not just user acquisition. It's also like PR defense, right? Like WordPress has this exact fucking problem. Massive brand, like even the WordPress content or like cluster within Google is so big. It's so massive, right? Because it's such a huge thing. It's not just websites and hosting. WordPress is its own category. Problem is the WordPress team never went all in on owning their own fucking branded category. So now when you're searching for majority of WordPress topics, who shows up? Plugins, themes, hosting companies. Everybody else gets to set the narrative about WordPress, not WordPress. That's a fucking problem. So it's very like, it's not a problem you have in the early days, but I see this over and over again with bigger brands. The brand gets big enough, and if they don't fill that out and truly own their own brand, someone else can come in, make all those users happy in Google, get trusted by Google, and then they get to skew the narrative in any direction they want. What happens when you have a fight, and this does happen when you have a competitor who maybe you have a cordial relationship for a number of years, but then something goes sideways and now you're at odds? But if they control the bulk of your SERPs and your brand terms, and then they also influence all the LMs, that's a huge vulnerability, right? They get to set the narrative however the fuck they want, which is a real problem. So you want to, like, part of it's offense to get customer acquisition, part of it's also defense, so that someone else can't manipulate the LLM narrative against you at will. And you got to build out all that SEO foundation and the content to, one, give yourself enough influence, but then also lock people out. That's a huge benefit that a lot of people miss in the SEO narrative. And again, it doesn't matter until you're like much bigger. But I'm building a lot of that out for a couple clients right now. And holy shit, I'm so glad we do because it gives me so much influence in so many ways and also protects so much potential risk.
Got time for one last question?
Yeah, I got one more.
Right. Have you been, I've been surprised, I'm not the sharpest tool, but not the bluntest. I've been surprised at the total lack of any fundamental understanding about how large language models actually work and the disinformation. David Quell seems to get a particular delight on being invited to the Edward show, and they get somebody saying that they can influence these large learning models and they can predict the fan out and blah, blah, blah. And David just kind of semi-destroys them online.
Good. Yeah, great. Love it.
The kind of blood sport, right? I can only watch so much of it, even though he's quite pleasant about it, but it is the kind of blood sport. And they it just seems to be so much misinformation because there's obviously things that are influencing them, but and if you do spend a little bit of time and you do learn how they actually work, and then kind of it's still a little bit of a black box. I think they do it on purpose, don't they?
Well,
What's your own thoughts about this?
There's the enormous amount of bullshit. I guess there always is, but right now it's like particularly nauseating.
It's on steroids, isn't it?
Well, it's because of the AI hype, right? So you just talk about AI. Everyone wants to talk about AI. Everyone's really excited. Like, stuff just goes viral so fast. As long as you're talking about AI, right? Because it's the moment. It's like the when crypto was really hot, right? Like you just talk about crypto and it goes fucking bonkers. So I think most of the AEO, GEO, the stuff bothers me the most is the all the AI optimization like companies that are getting VC funded and making like crazy promises, and really it's just an AI content slot machine. You're like, how's that gonna work out for y'all? I love Lily Ray's post where she tracks all this stuff over time, all the case studies that they put out, and like 3 months later the fucking domain just craters. It lights the fire in my dark heart. Makes me so happy. So that's really just nonsense. And then the link building. So I've done a lot of link building. I know a lot of the best link builders on the planet that have built billion-dollar companies through link building. Just I see what they're doing and I see the mechanics of it, and it's just laughable. I'm like, as fucking Google was onto this shit 20 years ago. Like, this is not cutting edge stuff at all. It's fucking amateurs. That I think is a lot of nonsense. That's probably the section that I find most annoying. I would say, like, for anybody dabbling in this space, however you want to approach AI and optimizing for the LLMs and AO, GEO, all this stuff, there's 2 areas where you need to be really paranoid. 1, not publishing too much content on your site. Go narrower, go deeper. Do not spread too thin. Mile wide and an inch deep is a recipe for disaster these days. Holy shit. Even if it works in the short term, you're just going to burn it all down later. The other thing I'd be really paranoid about is if you are doing link building, you have got to watch the quality of those links. I think it's not as risky as it used to be. It seems like Google has turned down a lot of their link signals, and it's not. I'm a bit more relaxed than I used to be in the past, but still, I would not use some AI tool to just go build 1,000 fucking links. They're going to be trash. you're going to get lumped into a shady area of the internet. And even if it works today, it's a matter of time before the algos pick that stuff up and you get burned. So just be careful.
I'm just going to throw this in, and I know you've got to be off in a second, but what do you think Google's plan is? Obviously they've got various profit centers, but where they make the real money still, I presume, is paid advertisement. AI over how the results. I think the paid advertisement win is still generates 90% of the income.
Yeah.
But aren't they going to really start cannibalizing that?
I think so. Yeah. I think they've got a real problem under their hands, and I don't think it's showing up in any of their
Why hasn't it showed up so far then, do you think?
My best guess, and again, this is from a third party perspective, I don't have an inside source. I'm making assumptions and guesses and speculation, but my guess, so what I can say across all of their fucking products, Google is hammering the fuck out of ad real estate. They keep adding ads everywhere. More ads in Gmail, more ads in local, more ads in Google SERPs, more ads in YouTube. They are fucking hammering it. And that is a fantastic way to grow revenue in the short term. It'll make all your numbers look amazing, right? In fact, as any conversion marketer will tell you, you want more conversions, add more CTAs, right? But at a certain point, there is diminishing returns, and you can't fucking milk that same cow anymore. So I think there is a real fundamental problem building up in Google's ecosystem. There's probably a few smart people in Google that know this and are probably raising alarms. My bet is they're being ignored by leadership. And I think the fundamental problem that is not entirely in Google's making, some of this it's being forced on them, which I will admit, is that I think ads will make a decent amount of money in LLMs because ads always make money. Netflix, Amazon Prime, right?
Isn't it that Super Bowl advert from Claude, my mind's gone, where they pointed out, one of the ridiculousness of answer that comes from a large learning model is people really trust it. But if you start inserting adverts into that answer, doesn't that is semi-ridiculous, but doesn't that contract break down?
Maybe. Well, honestly, I would argue against that. You'd be shocked how many people still don't understand that ads in a Google SERP are ads. That's why the paid affiliate folks make so much fucking money on Google ads. People just click the stuff at the top. They think it's real. And then they go click the top recommended product. There's like zero critical thought. It's crazy how easy it is to make money if you're at the top. People just click on whatever's in front of them. I think the real breakdown is that if you think about the user experience on an LLM, it is not a click environment. People don't click. There might be cited searches and domains. No one's there to click. No one has the intent to go somewhere else. They want the answer and then they leave. So there is still a brand marketing play because you get featured and then someone's like, oh, okay, that brand. And then they go Google that brand and then they go into the homepage and they become a customer. So there's still ad money to be made. But is it the cash cow, the money printing cash cow that comes from a true click-based direct response funnel that drove the Google Ads platform and AdWords, back when it was called AdWords, that drove that for 20, 30 fucking years? That model is kind of receding, right? And I think Google, again, part of this is their own doing, but a lot of it is not, because the LLM environment is just a different ad environment. And I don't think any platform is going to make the same amount of money with ads via LLMs that Google has been able to enjoy with Google Ads. Google Ads is a once in a multi-generation ad platform, right? It's kind of like the iPhone, right? Like those things don't come around very often. And I think the days are going to wane. And I think maybe Google figures it out. Maybe they find a way to get the same amount of cash flow.
Would you say the thing you said about Google equally applies to Meta?
Meta, Yeah, I mean, yeah, Meta's probably the best counter example to my point, right? Like Meta's also got all the user data though, so that helps. Although maybe you can, if the LLM platforms get good enough, maybe they can build those user profiles enough to get the same kind of ad returns. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, Meta's doing very well, and they don't have the search intent. So that's probably the best counterpoint. Basically, I think that if we follow that thread, then the race is on for Google to become Meta. If Google can build into a Meta ad environment, then everything will be fine. If they don't, then things won't work. And conversely, the competitive environment would be, can Perplexity, can OpenAI, can Anthropic build an ad platform to rival Meta?
Would you agree in the Google family, the jewel in the crown at the present moment is YouTube, is it not?
Yes. So that's probably the biggest saving grace, regardless of what happens to Google ads and the SERPs and Google search volume as a whole, is that YouTube is an absolute behemoth. I still think Google, one of the, if not the single best decision Google ever made, was buying YouTube. They locked up the next generation of ad platforms and just media in general, right? YouTube, you cannot underestimate the cultural relevance of YouTube.
Do you think, don't worry, I will end the interview.
I got 6 minutes, I gotta go.
All right. But I'm surprised, like Apple or Spotify, they're trying, but surely somebody can muscle in to YouTube, really, can't they?
I don't know. Everyone's tried. No one's scratched it, right?
It's amazing. All right. Thank you for the time. We're going to end it now.
Jonathan.
Hopefully you'll come back
Anytime. Hit me up anytime.
Because it's been a great conversation. We're going to end it now. Thanks, Lars. And
Thank you.
we will be back next week.